This here is the brand new 2024 LG Gram 17. It's a 17-inch laptop. It's a 17-inch laptop that is extremely thin and weighs relatively nothing. 17-inch laptop, very, very, very light. I picked this laptop up locally, brand new for a really good price. These laptops can get very expensive. So before doing this review, I always looked at these laptops like, they're really expensive. You know, the performance is not absolutely outstanding. You know, they're kind of just not the most powerful laptops. But after actually reviewing this laptop, I've realized this does exactly what it's supposed to do. This laptop here is for people who need exceptionally good portability, but still need a 17-inch screen. This 17-inch screen here is gorgeous too. 1600p, very bright, 100% DCI-P. And it's obviously 17 inches, really, really nice. And despite all of that, the laptop is almost impossibly light. The chassis is nice and firm on it. You're not getting keyboard flex. You're not getting this bendy type machine, despite the fact that it's nearly impossibly thin. This laptop here also isn't going to have the most outstanding performance. In this model here, it is using the Core Ultra 155H, which is actually a very powerful CPU, but this whole chassis here is only going to be using 65 watts, so it's not the most powerful offering of this. I recently did the Alienware M16R2, which uses the same CPU, but it's vastly more powerful, but that's also because it's using a lot more watts. It's a gaming laptop. These laptops here do have a very high price tag, but if you're looking for large screen, beautiful screen, ultimate portability, this may be the laptop for you. Okay, and here's the package. Didn't actually open up any of this. This is, I guess, like the warranty information in that. Nothing over there. Well, it sticks a tiny little charger. Must be a gallium nitride charger. What's the wattage on this here? So 65 watts. And there it is. Got a plastic on the top there. Get it off. Yeah. Almost like a charcoal color. Not shiny. It's not matte either, but it's like semi-matte, semi-gloss kind of thing. It says gram on it, obviously. Very light. Wow, I'm shocked at how light this is. This is a metal bottom. Probably a very thin hybrid type material. It's very light, by the way, despite the fact that it's huge. 1,339 grams. Just for context, I'm going to bring in maybe this laptop here. This is a 16-inch, so it's close in the same size. This is the IdeaPad, relatively thin from Lenovo. Bringing the weight of this much heavier, 1,900, right? So this is 1936. What was that? 200 grams less? Oh, it's like 500 or 600 grams less. This is way lighter. Yeah, it's very thin, very, very thin, right? For the size of this laptop, the fact that this is a 17-inch laptop. Let's bring in another laptop for form factor, just so you can see the size. Again, 17-inch versus 13-inch, huge difference. Look how much extra screen you get on a 13-inch versus a 17-inch, and this weighs less. 16-inch, this is a 16 by 9, right? You can see that there, a little bit more on that there. All right, that's an IdeaPad here. Very nice though. Look at the port selection on it. Left side here, headphone in, 2 USB-C, HDMI. You get an HDMI despite the fact that it's so thin. That's always good. Right side here, 2 USB-A, micro SD card. This is a laptop that really anybody can use, students, professionals, just whoever, but it does also cater towards creative types because it's so light. But despite the fact that it's so light, it has this gigantic screen. The chassis itself, I've heard people say in the past that these things are not firm and sturdy, but look, right? I'm giving it force. This is a strong laptop. I guess if I like threw it as hard as I could against a wall, it would break. But yeah, it gives me confidence. This is a very sturdy laptop. There's no creak either at all. Tiny little bezels around there. You can see that there. Not big bezels. It kind of looks like a ThinkPad inside, to be honest. In here, the keyboard's different than a ThinkPad, but like the overall design elements, it does remind me of a ThinkPad, to be honest. Just like that sleek, no BS kind of business style aesthetic. So you do have to pop off these feet here. As you can see, unfortunately, these all have to come off. I think these big ones do too, but I'll have to see. I actually went into this blind. I've only seen a few reviews of this laptop, but I haven't really seen anybody tear it down. At least I didn't see it. Okay, so I have the screws out. They're just Phillips screws. There's no point in showing that. It's boring. We'll come up here. I think the easiest way, this whole thing probably comes off. right? Yeah, so that was pretty easy actually. I just basically went here, gave it a little pop, that came apart there. Give it a little twist, come down. I think there might be a screw under there actually. Yeah, for sure. See, and that's why I take my time. Okay, now we're in. That was probably one of the worst laptops I've ever had to get into. So this is metal. You can see that there, but it's a very thin piece of metal. It looks like it's probably a magnesium blend based on this yellowish color. Can't verify that, but that's my assumption. A little bit of ventilation intake, there. Overall, there's actually not a lot of holes in the bottom. They don't want to compromise the structure. That's fine. That's the look inside the laptop. It's relatively bare bones by design, is my assumption, because you add more stuff, you add more weight. Right, straightforward. So inside here, it actually looks pretty good though. You get a 77 watt-hour battery. Again, adding more adds more weight. 77 watt-hour is still pretty good. Wi-Fi is soldered, not upgradable. You do have 2 NVMe slots that you come with one here. For a large laptop, I like to see dual NVMe, not single. Can't upgrade the Wi-Fi, but it's fast Wi-Fi. Big battery here, lots of empty space in here. No idea how these speakers are going to sound, but they should be okay, I guess, in theory. And then you get a little basic cooling. So again, this has a 155H. It's not the hottest chip in the world. It's also not the coolest chip in the world. We'll see how this cools, but again, that's not what this laptop is designed for. It's not supposed to be a performance behemoth, right? It's supposed to be very, very thin, very, very portable, but still have good performance, right? So that's good. So you're going to get a single heat pipe there with a pretty slim fan, but hopefully it moves enough air to get it out there. It's going to pull it in from that hole there, evacuate the air out. And this model here has 16 gigabytes of RAM, so maybe some on the flip side there. Who knows? Probably going to be using a thermal paste underneath there. Do a quick SSD upgrade, take out the battery, and by that I'm just going to pop in a second one because it's already got one. And the included drive is most likely fast. I didn't actually check, but we shall see. That goes in there. That's a dual-sided drive, just so you know. And you can see here I have a single-sided NVMe SK Hynix in comparison to the Team Group here. That's a dual-sided NVMe. Fortunately, the placement of the dual-sided NVMe with the chip on the bottom here means that when you place it in, it's just not going to work. It's going to hit this spot right here. You can see now if I put in the single-sided NVMe, it fits perfectly fine, no issues whatsoever. So dual-sided is a no in this laptop, single-sided is a yes in this laptop. Okay, so let's have a look at the keyboard here. You can see full-size keyboard. Numpad over here, it's basically full-size. They slightly shrink the keys down, but it's still, I'd consider that full-size more or less, just with ever so slightly less keys. And then you get your function keys up there, so there's lots of room here. I mean, it's a 17-inch chassis in terms of width, so lots of room, even extra over there. They don't put in like speaker grills or anything. The actual keycaps, you can see they're very slim, right? They're like physically low-profile keycaps, but there's still a lot of travel. You can see this here. Right, so they go, not only do they go under, they actually go slightly further if you press hard, right? So if you're a gentle typer, you're still going to get good key travel. They're going to go under, right? If you want to type a little bit more aggressively, you can see there that it actually does go down quite a bit. So despite the fact that they're very physically small keycaps, there's a lot of key travel there. Yeah, so I mean, it's better than a MacBook. Straight up, I'm not a MacBook keyboard fan. I think their little chiclet things don't have enough key travel and they don't feel good. But it's the same type of design language. So it's got physically square keys. It is very similar to a MacBook keyboard. So if you're used to that, you'll probably like this quite a bit. But it is better than a MacBook keyboard. More travel and it's snappier. Trackpad is good, not huge, but also not small. It's relatively big, I would say, on the bigger side. Smooth. So this is a smooth chassis. This is a smoother trackpad, even smoother, not glass or anything, but feels nice and smooth, very precise. I wouldn't expect less. Click is good too. Okay, let's have a look at the screen here. So obviously it's a 17-inch screen, very large. It's nice and bright too, and the actual resolution is nice. So 1600p. This resolution, I mean, I think these things come in 1200p, which is not good. You don't want to get 1200p at 17 inches. People will say, well, you know, like a desktop 1080p isn't that bad. Yeah, but the desktop screen fits this really far back from you. This is what people don't understand. This is a laptop, so it's going to be really close to you. So when you get into 1080p, 1200p type resolutions, you can actually see like the pixels of making up font and that. So typically what I recommend on a screen that's really 15 inches or bigger, even to some extent 14s, but primarily 15 or larger, you need 1600p. It makes a huge difference. It's not a high refresh rate screen or anything like that. You can see when we come in here, it's just 60 hertz. It's fine. It's a productivity machine. So right off the bat, very vivid. This is a 100% DCI-P screen, so it has good colors. Okay, and so we'll bring this down here so you can actually see what I'm seeing. Very good blacks. Actually, the contrast ratio is very good on this screen. That's a really nice black there. Absolutely no bloom on it, no bleed. All right, nothing at all. Actually, kill the lights for a sec. All right. That's a very nice black. Considering it's not an OLED or anything like that, or a VA panel, very good contrast ratio. I mean, sure, the screen is not 120 hertz. That would be nice for scrolling in that, but people who are using this, professionals, I guess even students, people who are doing graphic work, they're not going to care. They're going to look at the screen and realize that it's gorgeous. So, which makes sense. I mean, LG quite literally makes panels, and some of the best panels on the market, like TVs and computer monitors. So, I mean, if their laptop had a bad screen, it would be kind of an embarrassment. But it's safe to say it doesn't. There's a really nice screen here. Okay, let's do an audio test here, see how it sounds. So we'll start off at about 80 or so maybe, and then turn it up if need be. Very good, actually. They're not, actually, surprisingly, they're not super loud. They get to be like 75, 78, which is loud enough. Like, I mean, you're going to fill a room with that. But the quality is very good, actually. It has a good amount of low-end bass, not MacBook Pro tier. So, like, let's be realistic here. But for like a Ultrabook Windows, business professional style laptop, it's actually pretty good. Like, quite pretty good. I've just installed a couple, I think, so far. Let's see here if anything is some LG stuff. I don't know what that is. PC Remover Professional. PC Mover Professional? No idea. That's probably bloat. Some LG stuff. I mean, it looks kind of bloaty. You could probably leave it. Get rid of a lot of it, to be honest. McAfee is garbage. Yeah, primarily it's just some LG stuff you could probably get rid of. And of course, McAfee. LG Glance. All right, so LG update and recovery. You can do updates in here. I actually did do this already. I updated the Intel Arc drivers, which is good that they actually supply it. You can update Intel Arc GPU drivers from their website. That's fine. You can also do it apparently from LG. Intel recommends you do it from your manufacturer first before you try to use theirs, which I can get behind because there's power management and that Intel won't know about. So you want to probably update through this LG update first. So you will probably use this software, I would say. These type software I don't mind. These like kind of basic update, backup type software. They're usually not too bloaty. You can usually just leave them there. Fan, cool. Sure, let's go high. We'll go high on that there. Is there a way of, function Q. So just like a Lenovo. Function Q switches your modes. Very good. So I will actually remember that, thankfully. We're going to go high performance because I'm going to do some Cinebench tests after. Okay, we'll just check the sound on performance mode here in Cinebench. We'll get the benchmarks later in the benchmark section of the video, but we'll just see a little bit of throttling. I do expect there to be throttling on this laptop. It's very thin. And the 155H is a pretty powerful CPU. I mean, it's in some decent gaming laptops, to be honest. Fans kicked up and it's keeping it cool enough. Warm, but cool, to be honest. Let's check the noise though. Very quiet. It's not going to perform the same on a laptop that has a really thick chassis, can put more power into it. This is only a 65 watt charger on this machine. So, I mean, if you have a gaming laptop with a 155H, it's going to outperform this, just so you know. But that doesn't mean this is a bad performer by any means. Here are some Cinebench scores. On the left panel here, we can see on balanced mode a score of 5,700 or so, not remotely impressive. In the middle here, we have performance mode, and we're getting a score of 8,200 or so, also not remotely impressive. This 155H, if put into a much more powerful machine, such as an Alienware M16R2, you would get dramatically higher scores, probably almost 8 or 9 or even 10,000 higher on the CPU here. This implementation, we have a power limitation. You can see on the right side here, we're not getting any form of thermal throttling or anything like that. However, there is a core power limit that is placed on the CPU because the entire laptop only runs at 65 watts altogether. It's still going to give you pretty good performance. You're going to be able to do things like 4K video editing without any real problems on it. However, you can certainly see here that there are definitely some limitations on the CPU in this chassis here. The SSD is overall... The SSD is okay as well, nothing special. It's going to be a Gen 3 drive here. Going to be getting blazing speeds out of it or anything like that. Wi-Fi is very fast. You can see here we're getting 550 to 450 uploads. It's quite good. It can get a little bit faster just depending on which servers and what they're doing throughout the day, but overall quite good. And then you can see battery life here is actually very good as well, despite the fact that the battery is not gigantic or anything like that. 100% brightness. This is me just kind of idling, just browsing the web. We're getting about 8 hours or so battery life here. Probably more closer to up to 10 if you're just idling, but if you're browsing around, you'll get about 8. So definitely going to give you all day battery with just basic use. Then you can see here I'm doing some 1080p YouTube. Again, we're at 95% here, and we're probably going to get around 4 to 5 hours of doing 1080p 60 YouTube, so also very respectable. So definitely going to last you throughout your whole workday for sure. Okay, here's a look at the webcam. It's actually a really good webcam. This is actually a very good webcam, which makes sense. It's a pretty expensive high-end laptop meant for creators and professionals. It's, gaming laptop. I would expect that there wouldn't be some crappy, 720p type webcam on it, but it looks really good. Decent enough. It's not super saturated or anything like that, but the polling rate looks good and it's nice and sharp. So I guess, you could probably stream with this thing, to be honest. Looks pretty good. Game testing time. Baldur's Gate 3. We're at 1200p. We're on low, which is quality FSR. This is really good. Let's go outside because this is really high. Okay, here we go. Here's like a normal part of the game. 1200p on low. This is kind of where you're going to want to be at, potentially balanced FSR or so, but we're on quality FSR. 45 FPS here, not bad, right? Not bad here on low with just basically the littlest amount of FSR. Again, this is using surprisingly little watts. The actual platform here, the 155H, the whole system uses 65 watts. So, it's kind of like the MSI Claw where it doesn't have as much watts. And you're going to get, like your 30 to 40 FPS or so. This is not tons of FSR. This is just quality FSR. You can put on more if you want. Like this is just quality. You can see here. You can put on balanced. Probably wouldn't go much over balanced. Performance will start to get a little muddy. But, you can go like this here. This still looks good, right? You're gaming at 45 FPS in Baldur's Gate. By the way, Baldur's Gate is not an easy game to run. That's why I tested. And you can see there we're just squeezing in under VRAM there. 16 almost being used by the whole system here. 32 gigabytes on this system would be a little bit better because the game is using 8 gigs, right? It uses a lot. So just so you know, 16 gigabytes is bare minimum I would call for like an iGPU. This is more performant than a Steam Deck, just so you know, like much more performant than a Steam Deck. That's a 15 watt CPU that doesn't have this kind of power. This is running a little low on wattage, but like I said, it's just the way that the Intel Core Ultra is tuned. So moving from the Intel, XE kind of crap that they had in the past into this, actual proper iGPU here with good performance has made AAA modern gaming viable, right? This is a 2023 AAA game of the year, one of the best games ever made, period. Very demanding. And you're going to have a good time with it. 35 FPS. You can dump more watts into them on like a gaming laptop or a thicker chassis like an IdeaPad, Lenovo IdeaPad, that allow more wattage to go into the CPU, and therefore you get better performance. But this is still pretty good. This is pretty good, realistically. And so, what do I think of the LG Gram 17, brand new for 2024? Like I said in the intro, I'd never used one of these laptops before. The theory behind them, I got it. You're going to be compromising performance and that, and you're paying a lot of money, but you're going to get this super portable laptop. I thought the build quality would be a little bit questionable at first, but that's not true. Overall, this laptop does exactly what it's supposed to do. Now, it's not super cheap, but if you're the type of person who would want this type of laptop, I think you're willing to spend a little bit more to get what this laptop has to offer. Beautiful screen, 1600p, great colors, good brightness. This laptop is extremely light. Like, I'm talking like one finger type light. This thing weighs nothing whatsoever, right? Dual NVMe is a nice little addition to it. So, I mean, you're able to actually get good storage on it. This is the 16 gigabyte model here. If you're doing some high-end, 4K editing, a lot of that kind of work, you may want to push yourself towards 32 gigabytes just because there's a little bit more memory for having big programs open. That's up to you. Keyboard's good, better than a MacBook. I'll say that right now. And you get a full dedicated numpad. Trackpad's fine as well. Chassis is nice and firm. There's no real flex on the chassis despite the fact that it's really thin. I mean, everything kind of is just nice on it. The CPU performance is not going to be as good as a thicker gaming laptop or something, a thicker Ultrabook that can allocate more watts to that CPU. This is only a 65 watt whole machine. The whole machine is only 65 watts. That's like the same as like a little handheld, like an ROG Ally or Legion Go or something like that. So, or MSI Claw. That whole platform is going to be in this entire little thin laptop here. So you can't expect the CPU performance that you're going to get out of a much thicker gaming laptop. That being said, I don't think that's going to be the target here. It's still going to give you more than enough power to do things like 4K multi-stream video editing and exporting. You're going to be fine. All things considered, this laptop does exactly what it's supposed to do, which is be very, very light, very, very thin, still very premium, have respectable performance, a gigantic, beautiful screen, and really be a portable workstation for people who don't need a portable powerhouse workstation.